Oh, my first day in court, I wish to...
Tell me what your name is?
Casey.
Casey? Yeah, this is Casey from Folklore Brewery, and Casey's been doing a great job of taking care of us. Casey, thanks for all your help.
You're smiling.
Well, she's actually smiling behind the mask. Yeah, I know. And please don't hold it against me because I'm not wearing one. All right.
But yeah, we love having you guys out. We really appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is great. I'm gonna have the same thing I had last time, if you remember. I don't know what it was called. It was the Amber IPA.
Thanks for having us. I mean, I'm really excited to be here. So.
I'm happy to have you. It's exciting. I watch a lot of your videos.
Oh man, no, you're such a gracious host. Nate took us out, and I don't know if any of you have ever heard about Lukenbach, Texas. Lukenbach, Texas is a real small, nondescript place, and if you've been there, you understand what I'm talking about. But this place is so similar, and we're out here in the backwoods of Alabama at Folklore Brewing
And meadery.
and Meadery.
They've got a selection of mead too.
See there? Yeah. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time here, and then we're gonna introduce you to Nate's system, and we're gonna try to do the best we can to pick your brain and get some information from you.
It'll be a short trip.
The community wants to know. You know, sometimes it's important. It's not as important to go to big distilleries and show everybody. You know, what can $1 million get you? But we can be successful at home.
That's right.
And you started
In 2012.
in 2012.
Yep.
What are your biggest points of success, or do you attribute most of your success to, besides the videos?
Temperature controlled mash.
Yeah.
Because down here in Alabama, the hardest thing in the world to do is, temperature controlled mash and temperature controlled fermentation. Because down here in South Alabama, it's hot as hell and humid as a rainforest. So even in the house, unless you keep your air conditioning on 69 degrees or something, and you pay a $300 a month light bill.
Yeah, exactly.
It is really hard to keep that temperature down so that you get a good, finish out of your yeast.
What is your average temperature? That you shoot for? See, because remember, this is all about technique. There's nothing wrong with what you do, because you never violate the process.
68 degrees is where I like to be.
Is where you like to be? Is that for your mash or for your beers?
From a fermentation, I like to target 68 degrees.
Okay.
And I do that, just in a deep freezer that I repurpose with a temperature controller.
Hey.
And I take the temperature probe and I piece of duct tape and slap it on the side, and because I want to measure the liquid temp, not the ambient temp in the cooler. So that's
very, very important.
I got worked up to the 10-gallon Rubbermaid cooler for my mash tun. So I'm always targeting somewhere between 149 to 156 degrees for my mash temp.
Oh wow!
And
how long do you hold that there?
An hour. I always try to go for an hour.
Yeah.
I try to hit the top of the temperature range, at the beginning, because I know it's going to, fall a few degrees.
Right. Yeah.
It's so hard. It's so hard to get, a good steady temp right off the bat, because, the temperature stratification and everything, you end up, you use the calculators. I always use the I'm always on the calculators running numbers, because I'm kind of a technical guy. So.
I love data points.
It seems like I always miss. For some reason, a few degrees up or down. I'm like, what'd I do different this time?
Yeah. Because a lot of times, we just can't take into consideration some of the outside influences.
Yeah.
Your humidity rises.
Yeah.
Or the temperature outside versus the temperature inside. You start to have those invert. Well, I don't want to get that too technical, but you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You can't control every aspect, but. I like the idea that you use temperature control. If you can control a portion, a function of your process, it gives you much more flexibility.
Yeah, because you want to limit the variables. You want to try to have a fixed point that you can measure other things against. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really.
I want to eliminate things that change a lot, so that I can focus on things that I have less control over, like the quality of the grain or something, for example. So when I first started out, all my beers come out tasting, that you get that like hot fermentation temperature in them, where it's you get that what, diacetyl?
Diacetyl.
Yeah.
It depends on where you're
you get
from
that-
and how you pronounce it.
You get that buttery flavor in all the
Yeah.
beers, and everything kind of just, you're just like, that's not really great, but I'll drink it. But
Yeah.
so that's when I decided I probably needed to start a control in fermentation temperatures.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, we were talking, you mentioned that you built a PID controller for somebody else.
Yep. My father-in-law, I'm not a real big liquor drinker, because I'm a beer brewer, and that's kind of where I started, and that's what I got into. But my father-in-law, right off the bat, a couple years ago, he's like, I want to make some liquor, and I'm like, oh, we can probably do that, probably make it happen. So he buys this Chinese still kit off Amazon, and came with no instructions whatsoever. It's got all these parts, nothing's put together. We're like, what in the hell is this right here? It was like, what's this football looking thing,
Yeah, exactly.
How does it mount on here? What are, what's all these seals and clamps
He must have
for?
been standing next to me when I did that video, because I was doing the same thing. I'm like, what's this football looking thing here that goes in? What direction does it, and of course you can put it on different ways, but
Yep.
And a lot of people wrote in because
We learned that later on from the videos.
Yeah, they had a lot of information that they shared with me, because like the same thing, it comes with no directions, so you have to kind of formulate, how does this thing actually work, and you start putting it together. And it works extremely well. I mean, I'm not gonna down it, because even though it's a Chinese product, it does what it advertises.
Yep.
But then again, you're limited to what you've purchased.
That's right. So the first batch we made on that thing, we had no idea what the hell we were doing. Neither one of us had ever done liquor before.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I know how to do a mash. I was like, we need to temperature control this, and we need to hit these target, mash temps, and hold that, for an hour, and then we're gonna, sparge the grains and all this stuff, So I'm going through this, liquor mash, like I'm trying to make, like a high alcohol beer.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
This is before I learned a lot more about this kind of thing. But we finished it. Another buddy of mine who likes to make a lot of, liquor, he came over to help us do the runoff and explain, this is the point you can tell when the heads are done. This is the point when you can tell when you start your tails,
Right.
So he was there for that. And the copper part of having the copper to...
Oh, you're talking about the copper mesh?
Yeah, to neutralize the sulfates and deal with some of the fossils in it. He explained that a little bit better to us. And our finished product actually, I guess, turned out pretty good, because we aged it with some oak chips that we got from the home brewing store.
Yeah.
And gave some to my my stepfather up in St. Louis. And he thought it was better than Jack Daniels,
Well,
I'm not just bragging on myself.
Not much of a higher honor than that, huh?
He's like, I'd rather drink that than Jack Daniels. And I'm like, well,
My goodness, that's good.
we haven't really been able to duplicate that quite yet, because one, the home brewing store closed, so we can't get the oak chips anymore.
There you go.
So we've started making our own oak chips out of just red oak that we split and chip up and put in the oven.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So that's a little bit different.
That is a method.
Yeah.
It is a technique.
So that's one of the things, and two, don't really go through the whole dedicated, trying to hit exact points in the mash part. Let's use this dirty old field corn. Let's grind it up. Let's throw it in there with the barley and the rye, and we don't even boil it. We get it up to the gelatinization temperature for the corn.
Oh God.
To soften the corn, and then we bring it back down to 156 degrees, and we put in our barley and our rye, and we hold that there until it cools down, and it just stays there in the cooler for an hour.
Yeah.
And then we put the whole. Then we just.
Yeah. Hey, please, I was going to say, pardon my pause, but I'm like, this is almost like a review. I'm listening to myself preach the same thing, and the process is that direct. I always say it's a 10th grade science project.
Yep.
That most men try to overthink. We try to outthink it. You're not going to trick science.
No.
And I always say the three things that never lie. Science, a 3-year-old, and yoga pants.
Yeah.
Okay, those are 3 things in the world that never lie.
Right.
But so you're not going to out-trick science.
Nope.
And if you just do those things, and you're right, you talk about the gelatinous, the gelatinous process. I've had a beer or two. The gelatinous process, and then you got your saccharification, which actually happens kind of like at the same time. But then that's when you introduce your barley, your malted barley, which is loaded with the enzymes. And
6-row, not 2-row. We're trying to use 6-row. On
there you go. Yep, 6-row just has a higher diastatic power. And see, now we're getting into the technical aspects of it, and that's great because you don't know how refreshing it is to just sit down and talk to someone that understands the science.
I've always been a why person, you know. That's always been me. I mean, sure, I can follow directions, you know, and get from point A to point B, but I want to know why I'm going to point B, you know.
Nate from Alabama, you're one of my heroes, man. I tell you, this is just amazing.
You ready? Yeah. All right. Hey, look, we're here at Folklore Brewing, and I'm here with
Jeremy Pate.
Jeremy's a proprietor and runs this place. Jeremy, this is amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, look, we're so glad you hosted us. You and Nate, and it's an amazing place. I always say this is sort of like, almost like Lukenbach, Texas, in a way. Yeah.
Nice.
It's kind of all by itself, and it's alone. So, you know, what are your mantra? What is your what do you use to draw people here?
Well, we're currently on my family's former farm. This is my grandfather's farm, who he was a helicopter instructor pilot with dreams of grandeur involving farming, which he never was able to do. But this property finally did turn a profit for him, and we're happy that we were able to bring the family business here to the family land. Nate actually was coming out here when we first got open. He and his girlfriend.
Kind of addicted.
Yeah. Since then, he's become a father and
married that girl.
That's right. But you know, a lot of changes have come over the years. But what you're looking at is basically the culmination of a lot of good people behind us pushing. I was a home brewer. I cut my teeth in my first horrible batch of beer in 1997. Wow. And after that, you know, began to learn. And you know, we didn't have the internet in '97. We had word of mouth. We had Xerox copies of bootleg copies of the Joy of Home Brewing. You know.
Yeah.
And a spare bedroom winery down in Fort Walton, Florida. That's where I was got my first homebrew kit. And that guy had forgotten more about brewing than I'll ever know. You know. So it's a great experience though, being able to homebrew, make your own beer, make your own products. That got me interested in meads and honey wines. And so we're the only meadery now currently in Alabama. We've got some proprietary brands that are about to break out finally in cans.
Oh, great.
Yes, I had to lease the space from myself to myself for 2 years for the federal government to allow it.
Yeah.
But we just got approved for using our canning line to package mead. So we're going to be looking at 12-ounce cans of strong mead. To make it into the world, and then 4 packs of Sizer, which is apple juice and honey that's fermented.
Oh my goodness!
We took a gold on that one at Orpheus Mead Festival, and Folklore just took a bronze at Great American Beer Festival last year. So we're feeling pretty good right now about what we're producing. We just want to make what we have better and begin to implement some of this R&D that I've been dreaming of for years, including sake. So.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
Yeah. Jeremy, you know, our intent is to make sure that we can share these with as many people as possible. And for the community out there, if you get an opportunity, you've got to check out Folklore Brewing. And I'm going to make sure that I post your website and all your information on there so that people can get in touch with you and find out what you're doing, and easy to find so that you can develop that of course, that following, because, you know, it's all in, you know, we love what we do. And I know Nate's the same way, you know, you love what you do, you just want to share it with other people.
That's it. So
thanks for what you do.
thank you so much.
And as always, the way we always end all of our videos, happy distilling. Yeah, there we go.